Hey guys, this is Sweet and I am back with another video. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the changes that are coming into the next rolling restart. There are a few changes here, and overall the TLDR is that most of this is really positive. Blizzard is listening, finally. They're making small incremental changes. Not many of these changes are going to be huge differences, but let's go through them. Starting off with Death Knights, Frost Death Knights, all damage has been increased by 5%, and Chill Streak damage has been reduced by 10%. Chill Streak is one of the big win conditions, I guess you would call it, for a Frost Death Knight. Getting those setups, getting those kills with Chill Streak is a big part of their gameplay. So this 5% damage buff is nice for them. I do think that the Chill Streak nerf was probably, I don't know, we'll see. I think it was maybe a little bit too much based on the representation of Frost Death Knights, which is reasonably low as it is. Frost Death Knights are still going to be in a really good spot, and I can see some really big obliterate crits coming out with this all damage increased by 5% part of this. Moving on to Demon Hunters, Havoc, all damage has been increased by 3%. Havoc has way too many issues with the spec. A 3% buff is not going to help it. Currently, Havoc relies on the Hunt, which is a Covenant ability, and outside of the Hunt, it does next to nothing. It had zero representation in the AWC. It's got hardly any representation on the ladder. I don't think this is going to bring Demon Hunters back to relevance. However, these are PVE changes, but they do affect PvP. I should have said this before the video. These are primarily PvE changes, but there will obviously be some knock-on effect for PvP. Coming down to Hunters, Beast Mastery, all damage increased by 5%. Really not going to do anything for Beast Mastery Hunters. Beast Mastery Hunters have quite a hard time landing trap without using their stun. Their overall damage is quite low. Their overall utility is quite low. There's not much good with the spec, unfortunately. It's just not a very good spec for Arena. I don't even know what could fix BM, to be honest. I think BM probably needs a little bit more damage. I think a more consistent way to land their traps would make them far more viable. Yeah, BM I still think is going to be quite a dead spec. I don't think we'll see much representation of it in Arena at all. Survival, all damage has been increased by 5%. This is a nice buff for Survival. Survival Hunters damage is quite low, so I think this 5% will go towards helping them. We've been asking as a community for so long now for Blizzard to make small incremental adjustments rather than massive buffs that make something super overpowered and then massive nerfs that make it underpowered. We've seen that happen before. I think this is a good change. I don't think this is all that Survival needs to become a really good spec, but it's a step in the right direction. Mage Frost, all damage has been increased by 3%. This is on top of, I think, an 8% buff that they got a few weeks ago. Will Frost take the meta over from Fire? No. Fire still has far more burst damage. Frost, I can see being more in a dampener comp. Wizard Cleave, I just don't really think that this is going to make a whole lot of difference to mages and what they play. Fire's burst is still way more than Frost, even after Fire was nerfed last week. So yeah, Frost is still going to be a playable spec. Okay, you can play Frost if you like it. Frost is just not going to be the most MVP. Paladin, Shadow Resistance Aura will no longer remove from the Paladin when they die. I'm going to assume this is probably written in for Night Fae Paladins who would turn into a seed when they die. This just sounds like a bug fix, to be honest. Yeah, it sounds like a bug fix. Rogue, Assassination, all damage abilities increased by 5%. Assassination Rogue is with this buff, playable. The problem with Rogue is surviving. Surviving in the high burst meta, their limited amount of cooldowns. Rogue's issue and Assassination Rogue's issue is not that it doesn't have enough damage. The damage is okay, and it will be even okayer now. But the problem with Assassination Rogue is it's not a fast enough spec for what the meta requires. Sub has so many ways of assisting the team. It's got Shadow Dance to get you back into stealth, essentially, like using stealth spells. It can off kidney, cheap shot the main, cheap shot everything else. You don't have the capability to do that and to get as many setups as Assassination. It just doesn't happen. The reason that sub works so well right now is because it works really well with Fire Mage. Outside of a Fire Mage combo, there is really no good partners for rogues. I guess you could play with a Shadow Priest. WizK and Peekaboo show that you can do this, but they are top level pros. Rogue is really primarily meant to be paired with a mage. Rogue in general right now, I just think is probably not MVP for this meta. I don't think it's going to be MVP for this meta. I think as things start to slow down, Rogue will become a lot more powerful, and I think we'll start to see Rogue creep back in. But in its current iteration, I don't think this is going to make too many changes to Assassination, and if we'll see it in Arena. Shaman enhancement. All damage abilities are increased by 3%. This is a good change. Chamois, outside of their major cooldowns, really have not a whole lot of damage. So this is a nice buff for them. I think that their burst is really, really, really insane, and their burst has the potential to one-shot or global or whatever you want to call it. I think we're going to have to play this one out. Just see what happens with this change. Enhance is actually really highly represented on the 3v3 ladder right now, I believe, unless I read that wrong. So this is a nice buff. I think it brings up the enhanced viability, and the off heals that an enhance provides are so sleeper. No one really has picked up on how OP they are. They're instant casts, similar to Word of Glory, just probably a little bit more powerful in my opinion. Warlock fixed an issue where Resolute's barrier conduit effect could be placed on cooldown when the Warlock took damage lower than 5% of their maximum health. Bug fix. Destruction. All damage abilities increased by 5%. Destruction has so many ways of increasing their Chaos Bolt damage. It is insane. Mark my words, by the end of this season, there will be a Destro comeback. I feel like Chanimals is going to play Destro in a competition a little bit later down the line. He's going to one-shot someone with Chaos Bolt, and we're going to be back to BFA Season 4. Destro, when they can actually get casts off, when they get their haste to a high enough amount, they're really, really powerful. I think people don't give Destro the credit it deserves. It is not the strongest spec, but it is a strong spec. It is not BFA Season 4 strong, but once we get more stats, once we get more haste, once they keep building up the level of their conduits that make their Chaos Bolts massive, Destro will be making a comeback, 100%. Warrior, this is where things start getting interesting. Now, earlier in the week, they announced that all damage abilities would be increased by 3%. Everyone was like, oh, what do you mean? Warriors are already so OP. Blah, blah, blah. Well, in fact, Warriors damage was never that crazy. Okay, this is a change mostly aimed at PvE. However, it's not so bad for PvP either. Warriors damage is not that crazy. It's very televised. It comes through Avatar. You see the Bastion Spear. There are ways to counter warrior damage. It's not that bad. And I think most of the people complaining about Arms Warrior having insane damage really haven't popped a defensive against Arms Warrior. The big change, Master and Commander PvP talent reduces the cooldown of Rallying Cry by 60 seconds, was 120 seconds. The real issue with Warrior, why Warrior is so highly represented. 1, it brings a Mortal Strike effect. 2, it brings good damage. 3, the utility. Spell Reflect, Intervene, Rallying Cry, Banner, Fear, and this talent, Master Commander, which had basically made the Rallying Cry ability super strong and always essentially off cooldown whenever people had goes. It was a very strong PvP talent. This is a reasonably big nerf to warrior survivability. Will it make warriors unplayable? No, warriors are still going to be absolutely amazing. I think warriors are in a good spot. What will we see any more changes with warrior? I'm not sure. I think warrior right now is quite a well-designed class, as much as they're as annoying to play against. I think warrior is in a really good spot, one of the best spots that it's been in for quite some time. And of course, all damage increased by 3% for Fury. Same nerf with Master and Commander. Fury still going to be crap. So, yeah. Interestingly, we haven't had any changes with Windwalker. Windwalkers are dominating the 2v2 bracket, as most people will know if they've played 2v2. But the discussion is very heated on the forums. Sure, Windwalkers have insane damage, but they have next to no survivability. They have port, they have a really weak wall, and they have karma. And when your main defensive can be bopped off by 70% of the ladder, 70% of the ladder is Holy Paladin, is that defensive really worthwhile? Will we see changes to Windwalker Monk? I would love to hear your thoughts on it. My personal thoughts is that as someone who also plays Windwalker, damage should be toned down a little bit. My Windwalker ult is like 180 item level. I'm doing 4k DPS in arena. I would love to see some buffs to Windwalker in terms of defensives, sorry. I would love to see some nerfs in terms of the damage and some buffs in terms of the defensive. Obviously, we want classes to be unique. We don't want it to become another rogue, but Windwalker is a very vulnerable class, but also left unchecked, it is super, super destructive. Is that the way Blizzard wants it to be? I do not know. Anyway, guys, this was me running you through another set of patch notes. If you have any questions, please let me know. As always, love to hear your comments in the comments below. If you do like this video, please drop a like and subscribe. I would love to hear from you, and join my Discord. Cheers.